If this journey is going to take time, then I think I need to stay very clear about what makes the wait worth it. Because when the road feels long, vague dreams are not enough. A vague idea of freedom sounds nice. A vague idea of one day sounds nice. But when you're tired, when you're still building, when you still have to show up to a job that doesn't feel like the final version of your life, vague motivation gets thin very quickly. So lately I've been asking myself a more honest question. What kind of freedom am I actually waiting for? Not the shallow version, not the fantasy version, not the version where I just imagine having an easier life. The real version. Hi, I'm JP, and I think the kind of freedom I'm building toward is not just about leaving a job. It's about reaching a place where my best hours, my best focus, and my best care can go toward the work I'm actually building. Not the leftovers, not the margins, the best of parts of me. And that is the kind of freedom that feels worth waiting for. For a long time, freedom naturally felt connected to escape. Escape from restriction, escape from boredom, escape from giving my time and energy to something that doesn't belong to the future I want to build. And I still understand that feeling. I don't think it's fake. I don't think it's wrong to admit. There are days where I want out. There are days where I feel the weight of still being in this current structure. There are days where the idea of being my own boss feels less like ambition and more like breathing room. But I also know that if freedom only means escape, then the dream is too small. Because escaping one thing does not automatically mean you have built something better. Leaving a job is not the full dream. It's only meaningful if I am leaving into something stronger, wiser, and more aligned. That is the difference I'm trying to hold on to now. I don't just want out. I want to build something worth stepping into. When I think about owning my time, the thing that matters most to me is not simply having more free time. It's not about sleeping late. It's not about doing nothing. It's not about avoiding responsibility. What I really want is to own my best hours. That's the deeper thing. Because right now, the best part of my mind often gets used by something that doesn't belong to what I'm building. The sharper hours, the clearer hours, the hours where I still have proper focus and care. Those hours often go first to the job. And then later, when I finally turn toward my own work, I'm still there, I still care, I still show up. But sometimes I'm not bringing the strongest version of myself. That is what I want to change. Not because I don't want responsibility, but because I want my responsibility to be aimed at the right future. I want the best part of my day to serve the life I'm actually building. This connects to something I've been feeling more and more. The build cannot keep living only on leftover energy. It can survive there for a while. And maybe in this season, it has to. That's just reality. But long term, if something really matters, it cannot always receive what is left after everything else has taken its share. Because leftover energy changes the quality of the work. It changes the care. It changes the sharpness. It changes how present I am. And that matters because what I'm building is not small to me. It's not just a side interest. It's not just something I do when I have a little space. It is connected to the kind of future I want for myself and my family. So when it only gets the tired version of me, that bothers me. Not because every day has to be perfect, it won't be. But because I know the build deserves more than whatever remains after the present has drained the best of me. I think this is important to say clearly. The freedom I want is not about doing less. It's about doing the right work with the right part of myself. That's a big difference. Sometimes people hear freedom and think it means comfort, less pressure, less responsibility, an easier life. But I don't think that's the kind of freedom I'm really after. I'm not trying to escape effort. I'm trying to redirect effort. I'm trying to get to a place where the hours that currently go towards someone else's structure can be poured into something I'm responsible for building. That might not be easier. In some ways, it may be harder, because ownership carries weight. But at least the weight would be aligned. At least the effort would connect directly to the future I'm trying to create. And that matters to me. I would rather work hard on something that belongs to the calling, responsibility, and direction I believe God is shaping in me than feel mentally spent by something that only pays for the present. That is why this kind of freedom matters so much. It would give me the ability to build properly, not rushed, not squeezed into tired margins all the time, not always trying to think clearly after my mind has already been used up. Properly, with focus, with care, with seriousness, with enough mental space to refine things well. And I think that matters because building properly requires more than effort. It requires attention. It requires patience. It requires the ability to think deeply enough to make better decisions. And that is hard to do when your best attention has already been spent somewhere else. So the freedom I'm waiting for is not just financial. It's creative. It's mental. It's spiritual. It's the freedom to give myself fully to what I believe I'm supposed to build, without constantly feeling like the work that matters most has to wait until the end of the day. But there's another part of this too. The kind of freedom I want has to protect alignment. Because if I get freedom but lose my faith, that's not freedom. If I get success but lose my integrity, that's not success. If I build something that gives me time but costs me peace, family, discipline, and spiritual steadiness, then I haven't built the right thing. That's why this has to take the right shape. I don't just want the quickest path out. I want the right path forward, a path where my faith remains intact, where my discipline stays healthy, where my integrity is protected, where my family doesn't get the worst version of me because I'm always chasing the next thing. That kind of freedom is heavier. It asks more from me. It takes longer. But it is also the only kind that actually feels worth having. I think this is why the process cannot be rushed, because the kind of freedom I want has to be strong enough to carry real life. Not just a good week, not just a spike in income, not just a moment where things look promising. Real life. Bills, family, responsibility, pressure, bad months, unexpected situations, spiritual tests, emotional fatigue. If the freedom I'm building cannot carry those things, then it is not ready yet. And that is hard to accept sometimes, because I want the outcome. I want the time ownership. I want the ability to give my best hours to my own work. But wanting it badly does not mean the structure is ready to hold it. And if I force it before it can hold, then I could damage the very thing I'm trying to build. So maybe the wait is not just delay. Maybe the wait is part of making the freedom strong enough to last. When I bring it all back to the center, this is what makes it worth waiting for. Not ease, alignment. The ability to wake up and know that the best part of my day is going toward the right thing. The ability to build with my clearest focus instead of my leftover energy. The ability to lead my life with more ownership and less divided attention. The ability to work hard, but in a direction that actually belongs to the future I believe I'm supposed to build. That is the kind of freedom I want. Not just more time, better owned time. Not just relief, responsibility that fits. Not just escape. A life where the best of me is no longer permanently rented out to something that doesn't own my future. That is worth waiting for. And if that is really the destination, then I cannot afford to cheapen it by rushing. I still want freedom. I still want to be my own boss. I still want to step into the life where I can fully focus on what I'm building. But I'm learning that the kind of freedom worth waiting for is not simply having more free time. It is owning the best part of my time. It is giving my best hours to the work that actually matters to me. It is building something aligned enough, strong enough, and honest enough to carry the responsibility that comes with it. That kind of freedom may take longer, but maybe that is because it is not small. And if the weight is shaping me into someone who can carry it properly, then maybe the waiting is not wasted. Maybe it is part of the build. I'm JP, and I'll see you in the next one.